And for folks at dinner last night, we consumed most of the pizza, so that's a success. So for today, our schedule, we're going to start off spending most of our morning kind of doing our more interactive brainstormery thingies around releases. But actually, to start that off, I have one special announcement that actually I'm going to let Deb and Ann take care of. If y'all would like to come down. Let's do the cursor when you need it. So.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I'll go ahead and take it off. Hello, everyone. Yeah, this one's louder than yesterday, so this is good. So welcome back, day 2 of the Dev Summit. If some of us look like we have dark circles under our eyes, it's not because we were up socializing really late last night, which would have been good, but some of us were woken up by an alarm at our hotels. And I guess one hotel, we just had to stay in place and listen to the obnoxious emergency message over and over and over again. And then in the other hotel, they were actually evacuated. So I don't know which one's better. I think maybe being able to stay in my room was better. So, but anyway, but thank you for everyone who bared through that and made it this morning. So, so anyway, we every year we try to recognize a contributor. And it's been a few years, though I think, well, last year we did recognize John for all of his work. But we did want to do a special one today. And so what I'd like to do, I will need my reading glasses here, is to recognize Colin Percival for his work and effort of stepping in for the release 13.2. And so some things that I'd like to say is that, so usually point releases are uneventful affairs, but a few last minute bugs were found in the lead up to 13.2 that required RC4, RC5, RC6. And he handled it extremely well. He stepped in, at least what we know when the email came out was on January 3rd to step in. And he stepped in because we do have or the project has a release engineer who is totally dedicated to the work of the project and the work that he does in release engineering, and he's been doing this for years. And he did have basically a health crisis, and so Colin, as deputy release engineer, stepped in last minute and was able to take on this basically on his own. And so we want to recognize him for his effort on this. So Colin is up back there if you want to come down here so everyone can see. And so we have a little award for you. And so if you want to go to the next slide. So thanks for orchestrating the release of FreeBSD 13.2. And we all so appreciate it. This, if you want to go to the next slide, will be coming soon on a mug. So it'll be something that you could always remember and have on your desk and really cherish this time and contribution. I know you've done many contributions over the years. And we really, really appreciate it. And I'm really speaking on behalf of not only the foundation, but of the community. So thank you. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
I'm a violinist, not a conductor.
But as a release engineer, you are somewhat conducting in that role. But we hope you like it. Yes. Yeah. You got a promotion whether you like it or not. Okay. So after this, we will go to, okay. Oh, did I make it really mad? I made it really mad. That's okay. I honestly, well, maybe you just want to switch to the camera because I don't really have slides for 14.0. So for 15.0, we'll have a very kind of normal, typical session, I think. Kind of our first one reviewing 15.0 later. But for 14.0, we find ourselves very close to, we would actually normally be in the kind of very early in the release process, but we're slightly delayed. But we're really close to the end. And so it's not a lot of time to spend brainstorming new things we're going to put into the release because that is not the stage at which we're in. And we're really at a stage of get the thing shipped and out the door. As everyone, well, as folks, I believe most folks are aware, we have one kind of last minute showstopper we really got to fix. That's a big hairball, which is getting to an OpenSSL version that doesn't go out of support in 3 months or maybe 2 months after the release would ship. So that's in progress, and I know we've had discussions about that. So that's one topic we could maybe discuss. But honestly, that topic, there's kind of 2 parts to that topic. One of them is getting it imported into source, and then we've had various side discussions about dealing with private libs and stuff, which we could do that, but I think they're orthogonal tasks. But I think, honestly, the bigger impact for OpenSSL is not really base. It's really the impact that it has on packages. And even in that discussion, it turns out there may be an even bigger impact on packages in OpenSSL, which is LVM 15. And so I believe, but I could be wrong, that the biggest task before us for 14.0 is really not necessarily things in source that might need to change, but really how do we help packages get back into a better shape after the recent trauma that source is inflicting on them. And so that may need quite a few hands to help step up with that. So I think it might be useful to think about how we can organize some work around that maybe in the short term to try to get a few more hands who might not be working on fixing ports as much to kind of help all of us together as a community to get packages into better shape so that we're ready for our release. So I think that's to the extent that we want to talk about something with 14.0 today. I think that's the main thing we should talk about. But I don't have any slides or content for that. I just think it's a discussion we can have. And I can't see IRC standing up here, so I will need, to the extent that there's stuff online, someone to proxy. But now I'm going to kind of open the floor to see what thoughts other people have. For example, are there other things in 14.0 besides OpenSSL 3 and kind of package fallout from OpenSSL 3 to LVM 15? That may be the first question is there anything else someone thinks is really urgent that needs to be addressed besides those?
We want to start a new HackMD.
Oh, we could do a special purpose for this one, I suppose. If you do that, you mean conference Wi-Fi being unhappy? That would never happen. Maybe I can get my Mac to also be useful again and we could put that up.
So can you repeat what Ed just said?
Okay, so Ed said that so normally we have a HackMD that kind of, and for 14.0, I did a different strategy, which is rather than doing a new one every time, we've had one that has survived all of our different conferences during 14.0's kind of life cycle and kind of synced it to GitHub after every conference and so forth. But I don't think that particular page with its kind of focus of have, need, want is the right format for this type of discussion. And instead, we might have still use a separate HackMD just for this topic about kind of wrapping up this release. Whereas for 15.0, we'll follow our more typical format. All right. Maybe this one? Hey, okay. I got it to be happy again. And then escape. So did you have the link somewhere that we could get to, perhaps? Maybe could you edit the wiki and replace this one, which is the old one, with the other one, or add it or something?
So
Or would you rather me just create one? Ah, okay. Why don't I create a new one?
you want me to create one, John, or are you going to do it while we watch?
You can create, no, actually, yes. Me using a keyboard in front of you would be probably very boring. So if you would like to create one and link it from the wiki, and then I can fill some intervening time by going over our existing 14 page. So one possibly nice thing about at least the current page is because we've been maintaining it somewhat. The first thing it has is a nice list of things that actually got done that were mentioned at earlier conferences and it actually got merged one way or another. And the list is not entirely short. So there's various things that we have talked about over the past several conferences or past several years, well, 2 years or so for 14 that have ended up landing in the tree. We still have some things that have not yet landed in the tree for various reasons that people still have some form of. And when we come to 15.0, I'll say this now, I guess. The 15.0 page, which I can go to, even though we are preliminary. The 15.0 page is hopefully, because no one's found it and hacked on it yet, it's empty. I didn't just wholesale copy things. I think we should only actively copy things because someone is still planning to work on it when we get to that point. And then there's some things that aren't even done that were just wish list. We'll ignore those for now. But there is one interesting page at the bottom that is also maybe something that's useful to think about because these are things that could still sink into 14.0, but things that somebody thought they should remove. Oh, there is a warner one.
We didn't do Firewire. It's
I
not
know.
done yet.
Why?
Shit happens. Or didn't.
I know. I think I've had to fix compile bugs in it for GCC. I should have used the opportunity to RM instead, but. Say what? Oh, PowerPCs? Oh, well, yeah.
No, they're not blocked. I asked those guys. They're
Okay.
the ones that still have machines that use it.
Okay.
RB6 is staying and going. Meaning, it's still buildable in the tree.
Yeah.
But we're not making releases or packages for it anymore.
Right.
That last step is rolled into the release stuff. I talked to Glenn about that, but he got sick about the same time.
Fair enough.
Talked to him about it, and I think it's a dropped ball.
I think it's really easy to tell them you can just turn it off and stop doing these things anymore.
Yes, it is. He said that, and
Yes.
then I don't know if he turned them off or he was waiting for patches from me or whatever. So
This is another topic while we're waiting for our HackMD page to show up. I will do a very short version because I think the longer discussion we will have in 15, which is this thing called 32-bit platforms. But for i386 in particular, I don't think anybody objected to this when I said something about this on ARC, at least this part of it, that for i386, I think we should, how do we say, not commit to shipping anything that we don't ship on other tier 2 platforms. We may still ship them by choice. Oh, and in particular, I think we should probably turn off FreeBSD update for i386 and 14.
yes, we're not doing that for RMB. There's no FreeBSD
Yes.
update for RMB6, so there's nothing to turn off there. It's just turning off building the packages. The other thing I'd like to get, but I don't know if we will, is ARM v7 is the only platform that has a funky set of distribution packages, so you can't just grab its artifacts and create a VM. You have to do weird stuff and go through and install because reasons. So it's just making the base and other tarballs we make for all the other platforms. So
Okay. That's not something to remove, but okay,
yeah,
I think. But Leewin, you had your hand raised. Oh,
I haven't posted the link to the wiki yet.
are you saying this one though? That I should.
See. I'm scrolling to edit the wiki right now.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Are there any other things? FTBD, which when we added it to this page, it was because 13.0, we were in this stage for 13.0 and we said, oh, we missed it for 13, we'll do it in 14. And I checked and it's still in the tree.
The link is, yeah, the link is up.
Okay, well, let's just run through the axe candidates real quick and then we'll switch to the other one to see if anybody has any appetite for removing these things that they said they would remove. What about this one?
No.
Okay. That was a no from
We're
Warner.
still using it. Lou
All right.
is too big and they've got just no. They're not ready.
Okay.
The,
Oh, I think you did do this one.
I don't know if I did TARC. I did TWA and TWE.
Yeah, but I thought when I was, well, I should check that again maybe. Because this is not the thing that like iSCSI or like target mode uses. This is something else.
So this is an ancient thing, and I
So
probably
I,
should talk to Ken to see if it's still
yeah,
worth keeping
I
around.
thought, because I was trolling commit logs last week so that I could figure out this, like find these things that you had removed. And I thought I saw this one go by. Okay.
I don't think it's gone.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, okay, and I have not done this one. I really should do that. I don't even know if that was made in this millennia. Yeah,
I have not yet.
okay. Yeah, he would make Robert very happy if that were to get silently,
Security not.
if it just disappeared. But, okay, well, let me find your new link.
I think I messed up the markup of the link looks like it was.
Oh, I do not want to re-edit the page. I just want to. Fine. You made interesting markup. You just have an extra bracket.
Yep.
Now, what are the odds this will correctly auto-update as we're watching? We'll try. Okay, so I guess we want to add OpenSSL3, which still has some things in. We know, let me see if I can, correct me if I'm wrong on what I believe is our current status in SourceLAN, which is Pierre has a branch where he has done the actual import of OpenSSL, and we are working through other things in base. And that our current strategy, when possible, is just to do the quick and dirty thing of adding to C flags to shut up the deprecation warnings for things that are still valid in 1.1.1. And then so we can come by and fix them later, so we can get the tree to build.
I would go further than saying that's the quick and dirty thing. That's like.
That's what I did for Nginx when doing KTLS, to be honest, anyway. So,
It's the transition plan.
yes, well, it is a reasonable transition plan that gives us time to not boil the entire ocean in one
Are
go.
people seeing my edits? We're not seeing it here.
This is why sometimes Hack and Data is not, I don't know why.
Because I've been taking notes about what you said, and yeah, there we go.
All right. I'll just occasionally hit refresh. To work. Computers are a terrible idea. I don't know why we have them. We all say it or think it if we don't say it. So I think that's our approach for source. For ports, I think we have two things. One is we have LVM15, and I am not familiar, aside from seeing people say that it broke a lot of stuff, I'm not familiar with the ways in which it broke things. I don't know if it's just the warnings being more aggressive and how we normally cope with that in base, or is it something else? Do you know, Brooks? Okay.
16 causes silent failure figure. Because autofont doesn't declare functions correctly. There's lots of crappy autofont code that doesn't bother to give functions types.
Yeah.
And that's now a default error. So the tests fail even furiously. And therefore the options, the configured options change.
So that's also actually a thing in 15.
It was in 15 and then the worst of it was backed out.
So I know because I've been turning it back on in base. We defaulted them to no error or whatever, but I guess we did that. I guess that affected ports too because we did it in bsd.systemic. Oh, I see. Never mind. Okay.
16 is a bigger bump.
fair enough.
You basically have to review config.guest diffs. Or config.status diffs, rather. Ports people will just have to do it.
So,
And as a project, we suck at that.
okay. W- hmm. Is there a question about the timeline of when we should import 16 then, or switch to 16?
I think Dimitri's interested in getting it in, but I don't know that it's possible. It depends how long we're delayed by OpenSSL.
Okay.
We've kind of decoupled ports from releases, so
Yes.
it's mostly a question of when can we get ports back into a reasonable state, and how do we do it?
So I think one thing that, so for my little view, I have poor insight into like what the current impacts are on ports and like what are the big blockers and so forth. I know you can get from an individual run, you can find out which failures blocked a whole bunch of things and were the kind of most impactful blockers. Do we readily have that for the state of kind of, so I know OpenSSL 3, it's still kind of, I assume we've had various X runs. Do we have one with a more recent tree, like one of Pierre's trees to kind of evaluate?
We don't have a run.
Okay. I think in part because I know some other efforts were more about changing how like uses SSL worked versus kind of just uploading or updating base and seeing what happened. So maybe then the first thing we need is an X run of Pierre's tree. Is World fully building in that tree? Good morning.
One issue I think that's remaining is the dependency. The model configuration. There's a certain folder for review.
Yep.
Which I think tries to be before you schedule.
So like when using JX, there's like a missing that subdir await or something equivalent to ensure that libcrypto gets built before the modules that link against it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know the magic in FreeBSD's build
Yeah.
system to do that. Yeah, and otherwise I think it should build, but if not, like let me know.
I think it's the like the replacement for like the concept of engines in earlier OpenSSL. Like it builds some DSOs you can DL open, and I think it's that libSSL. I think it's libSSL DL opens them. Maybe I think libcrypto can DL open them.
I think the engines still exist.
It's inside of SSL.
Yes, I think it's
Internal modules or
no. I think it's literally like you just need the way we do dependencies for subdirectories, so that a parallel build will order the subdirs and not move on to like we use .wait in some cases, or there's other funky
we have
stuff.
an explicit thing in the top level makefile that does that. If we're not using that for this.
Because I think it's like in lib, it would have to be like in secure lib makefile where you would have to do this, I think. Or maybe even libcrypto's makefile.
Might need to do it both places. The cryptos in the.
Yeah, I know what but because the funky way we live libraries, and we list them in two places for reasons. And you have to put the .wait or whatever equivalent in both places. So, okay, we should be able to get that. I mean, we should be able to get that fixed like during that conference.
Yeah, we've done that 1,000 times before.
So we should get that. All right, we should get that fixed today. Somebody can help, but between all of us, we can get that fixed today, and then we can get an XRun queued up. But then I think that the thing is, it might be nice to be somewhat explicit about then trying to solicit help and like have people volunteer to fix port X. Maybe have some kind of wiki page or something where we track that. Just kind of push through this so we can get 14.0 back on the schedule or closer to a schedule and not delayed. So we can just kind of do a push on this. Does that sound sensible to folks? I'm talking to a bunch of source people though. Are there ports folks who think I'm crazy or have other input into this discussion. I mean, are there comments on IRC, for example? Or the other 87 IM thingies we use as a project?
Josh, if you hit edit on FMD, it'll switch to live.
Yeah, I'm fine. The chair might have some issues.
And then click the eyeball with the view, and then it should show changes as people make them.
Why does it not do that by the, okay, anyway. We should make software less terrible to use, not weird quirks. Okay, but that's nicer.
Yep, that's what I'm typing right now, so.
Okay. Okay, so actually we're going to add some other things. So do we want to talk about the other things? Whoever is typing?
I just typed that last thing to see if it was.
Okay.
This is a review that Andrew Turner put in. I don't know who added it.
Can someone expand the acronym?
It's Google something.
It's Google's cloud platform.
Oh, it's no longer called GCE, it's something else? Or whatever it is. Okay.
GCP is the one that's like GCP.
You great. Demonstrated my ignorance of cloud world because that's yeah. All right, fair enough. Is this Warner, did you add the dev kit or is that a Mark
I
1?
added that just because there's some reviews that were trying to get into 13 and didn't. Hey, Alan, how are your reviews going on that? Oh,
Yeah, Mark says 14 boots on it.
so they're in? Okay, that's easy.
Okay, then maybe what you can do, you can go stick that over on the other one in the have. That's you're motivated.
I'll see if I can. Oh, yeah, I still have it up. A tab?
Yeah, that's a have. Or no, not have. Sorry, the top one, the very first one. The happiness, the yay party. This should be like the fiesta thing, whatever, ta-da. Anyway, way off track.
It does remind me, like, I've been trying to use the dev kit as a desktop.
Yeah.
I get at least practice from Firefox with ancillary. I haven't yet debugged that, but if folks are trying to use ARC64 desktop, that's all I'm gonna be at. I don't think there's a PR.
And do you have Firefox built with debug symbols by chance? I mean, I have not successfully done that myself, so. Well, so I have a question. I can sort of raise my hand for this one. Does anyone have an ARM64 desktop? Brooks and I kind of do. I can't leave the keyboard plugged into mine or the firmware hangs on boot, so that makes it very limited to the desktop.
Kind of, sort of, but not really.
Yeah. Well, you just have to plug the keyboard in after the kernel started, and then you can use the keyboard. So, like, how many hands then do an ARM system that works as a desktop? And how many use that ARM system like with a keyboard and mouse and things like once a week? Okay, I got like 2 half hand waves, non-committal. Okay. I mean, I think we'll find those things as it gets more used, but it's perhaps not. I think it's fair to say that the selection at Costco of ARM64 desktop systems is slightly smaller than the selection of x86 desktop systems, and we need that to get a little better. But there's nothing we can control. Okay. Does someone want to add? Well, that probably is a 15 thing. Do we want to add that to 15 next hour or next session?
Yeah.
We could put a thing for a need that Firefox doesn't crash on ARM64. There we go. We'll do that. Is there anything else we can think of that's a gotta have for 14? I can't think of anything, but. And our release engineer probably prefers this list to be as short as possible.
Sorting out the fallout from Hyper-V import on the bootloader and serial port. It's not quite there yet.
Do you have like a percent complete?
It's like,
Oh, do you want to say it again for the?
Yeah, I'll say it again for the live stream. Hyper-V import support for ARM broke the bootloader, and I fixed it, and then I fixed it again, and I found out yesterday I need to fix it yet again. Oh joy!
I mean, you
But
love the bootloader. It's your new friend.
oh no, it's the surprise fixes with my new friend that I don't like. Particularly when my new friend has been influenced by others in the ways of doing things sucky. Anyway, so that's in progress. I've been talking to people here about the best way to fix that, but that's something we need to get into 14. It's something I should have this week.
Okay. Do you have
So-
as a software person, do you have an estimate of how many more fixes there are?
I do not know that this is the last bug, sir. And I do not have a list of unanticipated complications that will result from this.
Neither do I.
The unknown unknowns are still unknown, sir.
Yeah.
also the Mac CPU.
Okay. Well, we should add those things. Is it? Do you, Mark? Did you add this? Oh,
So I don't know if this goes under gotta have, but if possible, I think that would be nice to have.
okay. We should. So, to clarify, especially for this stream, we're moving it to, if possible, yeah, that's a gotta fix. That's Warner serial fixes. The thing I noticed was, so in a little background, in, is it in 13 that we added OSSL? I think because that's what I did it for TLS.
I think so. Yeah. So there's
Yeah.
a kernel module that implements various cryptographic operations using OpenSSL assembly routines,
Yep.
and they tend to be faster than some of the other ones we have. So there's some new x86-64 extensions, which give you like, I don't know, it depends on the buffer size, but you can get up to a 2-time, like you can improve throughput by a factor of 2 by using these new instructions. So I have some patches for OSSL to add support for those instructions for AES GCM.
Yep. What GCM is the only one anybody should care about for the most part.
Yeah.
Like for TLS and stuff, that's all you really care about. And that's so the double, that's AVX 512, is that right?
Right.
You need that for that. And then, but you've also done kind of baseline GCM without AVX 512.
Yeah, and I guess that might be worth bringing up. So if I commit that stuff right now, it's not going to get used because there's also ASNI in the kernel,
Yes.
and so that's always going to be chosen in preference to OSSL because they're the
Currently.
same driver class,
Right.
and ASNI gets loaded first. I wonder if we have some notion for how to make.
Oh, so I can speak to this. So there's a driver imports for Intel's ESET-L crypto library that Netflix uses for GCM that outperforms ASNI. And so that one, like it uses kind of a similar scheme we use. So the crypto drivers return a match value, kind of like device probe does. And ESA-L uses an offset from the default for accelerated software to be preferred to ASNI. But I think if measurements show that the OpenSSL GCM is more performant than ASNI, I would just prefer that we probably penalize ASNI probe value so that like the OSSL returns the default and ASNI is the default +5 or something to make it be less preferred. And then people who have ASNI will still be there, but if they happen to load OSSL, it will get chosen instead. And we can, if we fully supplant the functionality of ASNI with OSSL, then at some point we may deprecate ASNI.
Okay, so that would just be like a one-line change to ASNI to
Yes.
subtract 1 from its probe like
Yeah.
return value.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, I think.
Yeah, that's it's kind of why I wanted to see, so my personal biased opinion is that the OpenSSL low-level crypto routines are maintained and tested and looked at by many more people than there are active people looking at maintenance of the ASNI versions that we have. And so I'm happy to, if they perform as well or better, I'm happy to like offload the maintenance burden of keeping that up to date and working with newer versions of vector extensions and so forth to OpenSSL that we just reuse rather than maintaining our own stuff internally.
Yeah. I mean, we've already talked about that, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So I think for 14.0, then maybe I'll submit a change to ASNI to just subtract. Yeah.
5 or something, I don't know.
Yeah. Not 1. That's not enough.
I'll look at whatever I did for ESA-L. I think for ESA-L I do like +5 or whichever direction it is, because it's just like device probe, so it's negative
Yeah,
values or something.
The more negative, the better, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, would you want to do the same thing for RMV8 system?
So I can talk about, yes. So when ASGCM was added to ARMv8 crypto, it used the OpenSSL routines. I really wish that had been ASGCM and OSSL instead. And there's an open review from someone for Storm Shield, which does ARMv7, GCM and OSSL. And so I think Mark's work is very compatible with that. I think we can probably share most of the C code because the way OpenSSL already shares the C code, and all the little assembly stubs use the same calling convention, which is why like the cha-cha stuff, it's, once you've kind of got the one binding of OpenSSL's wrapper around their assembly API, which isn't going to change, then you just have to plug in, like for each architecture that's supported, their assembly, like add the build glue to build those specific assembly files and then the common C files. So once we have the common GCM that just uses kind of the default GCM wrapper in OpenSSL, then that should work on ARMv8, ARMv7, and x86. And at that point, I think ASCBC is the only thing that's not in OSSL currently that is in ASNI and ARMv8 crypto. Maybe, no, we do have, we might. No, I did not. In particular, it's useful because ASNI will only do the combo ETA if you have both accelerations present. And in the OpenSSL case, you always have accelerations present. So it does a better job of, if you don't have a CPU with accelerated SHA, or you're using SHA 512 or something, that it will accelerate both halves. And that was a reason to you prefer OSSL for those. But in short form, yes, I would actually like to kind of retire our bespoke one-off crypto things and just let OpenSSL provide those for us in the kernel for accelerated software versions. Anyway, we've spent way more time on that than we needed to. What are we at time-wise? Budget. We have 5 minutes? Wow, see. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Is that if possible? Oh, well, because you had to revert it in userland. Is it just Beehive that we have to fix for that? Which I think is in progress being fixed one way or another. We'll get that fixed this week. Okay. All right. So I think I'm going to angle to end so we stop adding things to the list and giving heartburn to our release engineer. But I do think it would be good to make sure we make good progress on, and online can't see where I'm pointing, on the ports thing with OpenSSL 3 in particular and any other fallout to make sure we get packages in good shape and we all help with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll and use our extra 3 minutes because we are probably going to chew up. I'm sure we'll have more stuff for 15 than we have the hour or whatever it is to fit it into anyway. So,
Can I mention one thing?
sure.
I'd like to change the default for home directories for slash.
Yeah.
Use your home to /home.
Yes.
And I have reviews for everything but the man
Yes.
pages.
Okay.
If anybody objects, please talk to me.
But yeah, if anybody objects, we'll show you to the corner. But I mean, I understand why we did it, but I've read the threads and I concur with the assessments.
Okay. I think it's.
At
a
least
good
I
idea.
do. I mean, I can't promise what the project is.
JKH's fault.
Having a separate user?
Why are you /user/home?
Yeah, yeah. He's not here, so he can't defend himself.
It was
so.
convenient for this install in the day.
Yes, well. You could have just stopped when it said sysinstall. You didn't need to add the other parts. Like
No change in system install.
that's gone. That ship is thankfully sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
Dead and buried.
Dead and buried. There's no monument, no tombstone, no plaque. All right. Okay. All right. Well, let's stop and we'll come back at the end of our break. So see y'all in a bit.